Donald Trump's trying to establish a dictatorship in this country right now. What is happening with Momodou and others is the type of thing that would happen in Pinochet's Chile, and black bag operations where officials are going around in plain clothes, dragging people off the street because of an op-ed, because in Momodou's case, the government submitted affidavits saying that it was because he attended one protest, because he was a prominent pro-Palestinian activist. This is just the naked, these are the admissions that the government is making in public court filings. There is no historical precedent for this. There are, of course, many dark periods of American history, especially vis-a-vis the suppression of the free speech rights of socialist, communist, anarchist immigrants, the Palmer raids, the Smith Act, the McCarran Act, 1952. Of course, and this is something different, though. I mean, there is both continuity and break,
right?
Because there is no opposition to this from within the political establishment. The Democratic Party is completely capitulated to this. I mean, capitulation is actually not really the right word. It's just open collaboration, and that makes the Vichy government look heroic by comparison. So what Momodou's had to deal with, it makes me very upset as an attorney. We are aware of the problems in the American judicial system. We're aware that American democracy, quote unquote, has for some time been, slipping down the slope. But nevertheless, that should not lead us to undermine the significance of the break from the past, which is taking place before our very eyes. And so what we would say is, to those who are watching and to those who are listening, I mean, now is the time. If you're not standing up right now, if you're not fighting back against this, if you're not exercising your rights, maybe just because you disagree with Momodou's speech or with the speech of Mahmoud Khalil or whatever, I mean, get serious about politics.
Yeah.
This is not the time for illusions in the Democratic Party or figures like Ocasio-Cortez and the so-called left wing, who have supported Biden, paved the way for this, done absolutely nothing to oppose Donald Trump. There is no sugarcoating what's happening right now. I mean, I don't think that the issue has been resolved. I don't think that this administration has massive support. They don't have 1 million brown shirts like Hitler did in 1933. There's a working class, which is about to get slapped in the face harder than it has been in a very long time. And it's been slapped a lot over the last several presidential administrations, bipartisan. We'll do what we can in the courts. We did what we could in the courts with Momodou's lawsuit. What's going to determine whether we live in a dictatorship or a democracy is going to be the actions of people who are watching this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important, this point that you made, Eric, that this is both a break and a continuation, because I think sometimes some people overstate how it's totally new, and I think some people sometimes dismiss how it's new. So I actually wanted to show a clip of you on CNN. I couldn't believe they let you on. Maybe is this going to be the first and last time you're on? Let's take a look at you on CNN.
You've spoken about the partisan overlap here and a dissatisfaction with specifically the Democratic Party's advocacy for some of these students. What are you expecting? What do you want to see that you're not seeing?
Well, I don't expect anything from the Democratic Party. The Biden administration paved the way for the Trump administration's assault on pro-Palestinian speech. The framework of the war on terror, which has developed over the last quarter century, was an entirely bipartisan, reactionary, anti-democratic project. It doesn't surprise me that the Democratic Party is totally silent when it comes to the defense of the most basic democratic rights of the entire population. Even self-proclaimed left-wing politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez haven't spoken up in defense of Mr. Taal, though he's a resident of the state that she represents in Congress. Our appeal is to the population, that we will do everything that we possibly can to defend democracy in the courts. But the real defense of democracy has to come from the people. And that's the appeal that we make to you. This is not just about the speech that Mr. Taal wishes to engage in. If the US government can go around the streets of this country, pick people up, throw them into the back of vans, drive them to detention centers 1,000 miles away, that's it. That's the end of democracy. This is where the line has to be drawn. The response of the population, not the response of the political establishment, is going to depend whether we have a democracy or whether we have a dictatorship in this country.
So, yeah, obviously, if there's anything you want to add to that, Eric, go ahead. But also, Momodou, I want to know your response to this analysis.
No, I think Eric is absolutely right. I think it's the liberal bloodlust is astounding, actually, in many ways, because, you know, I've seen so many accounts saying things like, well, if you voted for Kamala, this wouldn't have happened. When we have to understand that, in a weird way, it wasn't just the Democratic Party. Biden was to the right of Reagan on the issue of Palestine, right? Biden, it was the deaths of 5,000 Palestinians in Lebanon, and Reagan called it a Holocaust and raised an arms embargo. It was Margaret Thatcher who stopped supplying the arms to Israel. So Biden is to the right of Reagan and Thatcher when it comes to Israel. Biden is uniquely Zionist, right? And I think it's important to note that my suspensions and the ideas that Trump is putting into place today was not just made possible, but the groundwork was laid by Biden, and Trump just carried it to another level. So I just reject fundamentally that this is somehow the fault of people who didn't vote for the Democratic Party, who have nothing to offer the working class in the US anyway, right? So I think just to kind of go back to a personal point, I've not been arrested. I've not been accused of any crime. I've not been accused of any violence. I've not been accused of anything like that. And I had to leave abruptly out of the country for my personal safety, because I could not be guaranteed that my beliefs for advocating vociferously for pro-Palestine positions would not result in my abduction on the streets in America.
So scary.
And that's where we're at. I know it's like, you know, I think people are hopefully coming around to understand where we're at. You can literally have an opinion the government disagrees with, and this could result in you ending up in an unmarked car and transported 20 hours away. I think I really want people to sit with that and think about what that means right now.
It is scary. And I really hear what you guys are saying, because I feel very, not conflicted, but I feel this so much that it's both like, would not have been as easy for Trump to do this without Biden, and that there is something unique here. And and regardless, like, seeing people blame people for, you know, when someone points to your case or someone points to what's happening in Palestine and they kind of gloat and say, oh, so glad Genocide Joe isn't president. It's like, don't you have any humanity? Like, even if you think you're right, let's just say for argument's sake that you think there would have been a big difference between those two things. Like, that's not what should be at the forefront of your brain right now. Like, it should not be called like owning, you know, doing an own on people. About electoral politics. One more thing I want to bring up about how Biden paved the way is I couldn't believe this. So Eric, you tweeted out, you wrote, reuse of tattoos to label people gang members. Last term, Biden asked SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, to rule it was okay to do so. He won. So can you elaborate on this?
Sure. That was a case that I argued before the Supreme Court last April, and we lost 6-3. We had won at the Ninth Circuit. It was a case involving a U.S. citizen named Sandra Muñoz, a prominent Los Angeles workers' rights attorney, and her Salvadoran husband who'd lived in the U.S. for years, no criminal record. And the last step to acquiring a green card is you have to go back to your home country for a final interview with the consular, with the U.S. Embassy. And they, at that interview, denied him because he has they denied him entry back to the U.S., what they thought was going to be a routine visit, because he has a number of tattoos, including Catholic iconography and a profile of Sigmund Freud, the psychoanalyst. The visa was denied under Obama. Trump continued litigating against us through his first term. Biden continued fighting us during his term. And after we won at the Ninth Circuit, Biden petitioned for the U.S. Supreme Court to take the case and appealed to the most, in their arguments, the most right-wing justices for support, and they won. They got what they wanted. They kept the family separated. But now you see, and I think this relates to Momodou's situation very clearly, total disregard of the most basic due process rights. The presumption of innocence is out the window. You have people being sent to Guantanamo and El Salvador, to Bukele's, torture dungeons, for having tattoos that have nothing to do with gang activity. This is the Biden administration wished Trump good luck when he came to office. The Democratic Party has made clear that it's willing to work with Trump on issues of economic nationalism. I mean, just one point I would make in response to the last segment. I mean, the United Auto Workers has played a really vile role in promoting Trump's economic nationalism. The UAW members are being told by the leadership of that union to keep making munitions that go to Israel. You know, I mean, the UAW has not, you know, taken any steps to oppose the genocide in any meaningful way. They've kept all the munitions flowing and facilitated the genocide and praised Biden and praised Trump. So, you know, we're in a stage of politics where things are so serious that it's important to call people out.
Yeah.
Shawn Fain is the president of the UAW and has, you know, he stood up and put his hand to his heart at Joe Biden for such a great job he was doing as American weapons made by the UAW bureaucracy were being dropped on the people of Gaza. But I think the point that we all agree on is there's got to be an opposition from the left. That's and it's got to be international. I mean, those are the main, I think, takeaways from this situation.